Author Duke Cooper once said, "Identity cannot be found or fabricated, but emerges from within when one has the courage to let go. It is by addressing the Lebanese identity and heritage that we can discover the foundation, aiming to reinterpret Lebanon's past to create a new collective memory for the nation. A better understanding of the rehabilitation process of the historic Beirut city, which was meant to crystallize the intangible meaning of Lebanon's cultural identity, was shifted significantly through history. So we trace back different civilizations that inhabited Lebanon and left their traces on the city for a better understanding of the present. The port was first mentioned in the 15th century by the Phoenicians, and during the Roman era, the port was turned into a commercial and economic center, and became later on the center for the first Arabic fleet during the Umayyad era. In the Crusader era, the port of Beirut had an important role in the maritime trading between East and West. This role had been fortified during the Mamluk era when it was completely turned into a whole commercial center, and by the end of the 19th century the current port of Beirut had been founded. And during the second half of the 19th century, which is the Ottoman era, Beirut witnessed a rapid urban transformation driven by the economical growth due to the expansion of its port that was located significantly on the Mediterranean. The port area was the first to be built once Beirut started expanding beyond its ancient walls. The diverse typography reflects the evolution of residential architecture. Before 1920, traditional houses with classical typography of three arcades were built, in addition to the neo-traditional type with the transformation of the ground floor from residential to commercial. And between 1920 and 1930, buildings started to have central bay, verandas, and bay windows.
The Phoenician port of Beirut, or archaeological site Bay 039, is located between Alembi and Foch Street in Beirut. Studies have shown that the Bronze Age waterfront lay around 300 meters behind the modern port due to coastal regularization and saltation, and was determined to date to the Iron Age III and Persian periods. Two 19th century Ottoman docks were also unearthed during construction just to the north of this area at archaeological sites Bay 018 and Bay 019. Excavations at Bay 039 covered 3,000 square meters and comprised the western bank of a north to south facing harbor about 300 meters from the sea. Excavations suggest that great tracts of the city were left in ruin after the 551 AD earthquake. Excavations undertaken in Beirut's harbor have revealed the presence of tree branches and considerable amounts of unburied Roman pottery and rubble in 6th to 7th century AD layers. In 1968 were discovered the Roman Baths Garden, that is a landscape public space that lies on the eastern slope of the Serai Hill. It consists of a garden and a set of uncovered ruins of the ancient Roman baths of Berytus. Archaeological excavations in the area between the St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral and St. George Cathedral of the Maronites unearthed a funerary stele etched with an epitaph of a man named Patricius. In 1994, archaeological diggings underneath the St. George Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Beirut Central District's Nijme Square identified structural elements of the Anastasis Cathedral, but they were restricted to an area of 316 square meters and failed to unearth the entered school. Archaeological excavations have been ongoing across downtown Beirut and Saifi neighborhood. Some 900 artifacts have already been recovered from the site. Among the finds are structures related to Roman pottery workshops, a 1st century wall, well-preserved ovens for tile making, storage silos and vases for transporting oil and wine, a large pond, and a temple for the worship of Minerva and patroness of artisans.
I wanted to talk about the milieu of the site, especially Marab Khair and Jemmaisi. Until 2008, Armenia Street was considered an industrial street. In the early 2000s, the neighborhood started attracting craftsmanship, designers, artists, soon followed by the establishment of restaurants due to the low rental prices. By 2012, Marab Khair was emerging as Beirut's new party scene. The neighborhood present a diverse building typology, ranging from isolated houses with gardens dating to the 20th century, three-floor rental buildings from the French Medici period, and dating to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Recent high-rise apartment blocks that dominate the area. Neighboring Marab Khail comes Jemezi, where the name Jemezi came from the tree carrying its name Jemez. The buildings are a kind of mix of old and traditional Lebanese houses, some newer and modern. There is also plenty of coffee shops and small restaurant bars. In Marab Khair, you can find Marab Khair train station, where it is found to be remnant to the old railway station that used to serve Beirut. It was the main railway station in Beirut. What actually caught my eye more was the tramway more than the train, since it was the most clear vision of those who remember the area. It was actually a Belgian project that was initiated in April 1908 in Beirut. The tramway system helped electrify Lebanon with electricity. The tramway system organized time because it was arriving on time at certain times, which made the government to set official tower clocks all over the city. The tramway covered 12 kilometers. As cars became more popular and adopted, the tram tracks were removed to make way for the cars, and it was completely decommissioned in 1968. But people say that the tramway system was removed by the Lebanese regime to eliminate anything that is shared among the Lebanese people. There are several elements that were present when we are talking about the site, and one of these elements is sand. As a cheap raw material, it has become scarce since sand is a non-renewable resource over human timescale. Sand is contained in buildings as well as cleaning agents, cosmetic microchips, automobiles, and aircraft, and also used to make glass by heating it until it melts and turning it into liquid. Grains of sand are very old. Sands come from rocks that has been withered and eroded for over thousands of years and reaches the sea by carried down rivers. Sand sings. Under certain conditions, sand emits sound. Sound is created when grains of sand collide and generate elastic waves on the surface of the dune. Colors of sand varies according to the natural topology of the land. So that's why in Beirut there is white sand since it comes from eroded limestone. Oud is the only sand that accretes rather than erodes. Dust is also an element that is composed of fine particles of solid matter. It prevails everything. On Earth, it generally consists of particles in the atmosphere that come from various sources such as sand, lifted by wind, volcanic eruptions, and pollution. Dust in homes is composed of 50% that skin. The rest and other human environments is composed of small amounts of plant pollen, human and other animal hair, textile fibers, minerals from our outer soil.
Ashes are the solid remnants of fires. Specifically, ash refers to all non-aqueous, non-gaseous residues that remain after something burns. Ashes as the end product of incomplete combustion are mostly mineral, but usually still contain an amount of combustible organic or other oxidizable residues. Ash occurs naturally from any fire that burns vegetation, ignited by lightning, volcanic activity, or other processes. Specific types of ash include wood ash, products of coal combustion, cigar ash, incinerator bottom ash, volcanic ash, and cremation. Ashes can also be turned into diamonds, by which the process requires around 500 grams of cremation. When you mix wood ash with water, you get lye, which is a common ingredient in traditional soap making. After adding any form of fat, you obtain homemade soap. Ashes can also be used as an ice melter, soil amendment. It can absorb odors, control humidity, and polish metals.
The word concrete comes from the Latin word concretius, meaning compact or condense. It is a composite material composed of aggregate and cement. Aggregate contains materials such as sand, and cement contains fly ash. Therefore, the previously discussed elements sand and ash are both concrete component. Concrete is the most widely used material in the world. It is twice that of steel, wood, plastic, and aluminum combined. It is the essence of all modern city. Due to the shift from wood to concrete, we had a decreased risk of fire, and the shift from stone to concrete since it is easier to control. It is generally used in two types of construction. First, plain concrete construction, used in building foundation and structure, as well as the exterior of some houses. And second, reinforced concrete construction, used in military bases. Concrete is no longer limited to exterior architecture, it is used in interior as well. The notion of concrete jungle is both a metaphor and a very real place, representing modern urban cities.